What's good with everybody? Today I'm just gonna do a second part to this little serum tutorial that I've got going on. We're gonna build it little by little, step by step. Eventually, we're gonna be able to make really cool sounds like the ones that you see in them fucking preset packs that I know everybody fucking cops and definitely does not steal. And yeah, today I'm just gonna talk about the fundamental shapes when it comes to sound design and sound generation, and then touch a little bit on filters and effects towards the end. No intro, bro. Let's just start. I'll be honest. Let's just start this shit, man. When it comes to sound design and sound generation, there are four primary shapes that you want to keep in mind that basically all of the sounds come from, and they are the sine wave, the triangle wave, the square wave, and the saw wave. These are the four main ones. Basically every sound that you hear in these preset packs that once again you purchase with your hard-earned money, they all come about from some combination of these shapes put together. So I think, there's no better way to familiarize yourself with sounds than fucking hearing them. So let's just kind of play the shapes and see what they're saying. So this is a sine wave here. If there was like one most fundamental shape, it would be the sine wave, and that is because it is a pure tone. So when I say pure tone, I mean when you play a note, the only sound that is playing is that note, and no other overtones, no other additional sound is playing. It's just that note. When I play a C here, I just hear C, C3, middle C. That is it. If I was to play another note, E, D, D sharp, like, it's just those notes that's playing. It's just E, it's just D, it's just D sharp playing. That's it, right? This is a saw wave here. This one is almost like the fucking polar opposite of the sine wave, because where the sine waves are very pure tone, you just hear the one note that you're playing. When you play this at a middle C here, you can hear all of these really, really high pitch and buzzy overtones, which make the sound really bright. I can show you a bit of a... That's what a saw wave is. Just really, really bright, buzzy overtones all the way. The note that you're playing isn't necessarily like the most distinctive. Like the most distinctive part or whatever that you're hearing there is actually the kind of the buzziness towards the higher pitches. So yeah, that's the saw wave. We have a triangle wave here. This one is similar to the sine wave in the sense that you have pure tones. You're kind of, what you're hearing, and when you play a note, you're hearing the note that you're playing. Again, if I play the C3 here, the most prominent sound is the C3 note, the lowest pitch. But it also has a little bit of the buzziness of the saw, but obviously like to a way less extent. You can quite clearly hear this way less fucking buzziness going on. It fucking hurts your ears less. The square wave, fucking hell, my bad guys. Square wave right there, it has a lot of the characteristics of the saw wave, where it's really buzzy towards the high pitches, but it's like less filled in, if that makes sense. There's less overtones than the saw wave, but there's still more overtones than the triangle wave. It's kind of sitting in between those two shapes, if that makes sense. If I can play here, middle C once again. There is there's still buzziness like the saw wave, but it's less full. There's less overtones happening throughout the whole thing as opposed to the saw wave, right? That's kind of it. Those are the four sounds. I can play them in conjunction with each other. Those are the four primary sounds within sound design and sound generation. They are the building blocks. Anything that you want to do will be made from combining these. Sometimes combining them with themselves. You can combine sine waves with sine waves, and saws with saws, and triangles with triangles, so on, right? You can all you can hear that all of these sounds have their own kind of unique identity to them. They don't all sound like each other. I said before that the sine wave was the most fundamental one. In the same vein, I guess you could say that the least fundamental one is actually the triangle. The triangle and the sine actually share a lot of quality in terms of the sound that they create. And in a sense, you can kind of think of a triangle as a sine wave with distortion on it, which actually segues me quite nicely to the next thing that I want to talk about here, which is effects. You see, I'm actually a professional YouTuber, guys. I'm actually a professional fucking tutorial guy. I didn't even plan this, guys. Yo, effects. I'm gonna assume that you have like a kind of baseline knowledge of like most effects you've been producing for like a little bit or whatever, right? So you know like delay and reverb and distortion, chorus, phases, compressors, all of them. A lot of modern synths will come pre-built with a lot of like standardized effects that are inside of the synth that you're working in. Serum 2 is no different. You can come here and click this plus effects button, and then you get these options here. Reverb. Just let's do like a on and off. You can quite clearly see what that's doing. Delay. Distortion here. This is actually relatively important one because this will highlight the point that I was making earlier about how the triangle wave would sound a lot like a sine wave with distortion on it. If I was to do this, you can see this is a triangle, but this is sorry, not a triangle. This is a sine wave, definitely not a triangle. That's a bit concerning. This is definitely a sine wave with a bit of distortion on it. And if I was to take this distortion off and then change this sine wave to a triangle wave, they have effectively the same sound. So that's what I'm talking about there. And that is actually a very important point that I will probably come back to on a different video. Chorus. Chorus, once again, you can kind of put a pin in chorus, but chorus in a sense is kind of like delay that's like really short in terms of its response time. Let's make like a really simple sound with a sine wave here. We can just do like reverb and delay. I like to put delays in front of reverbs because it just makes it more echoey. So, you know, very simple, but quite effective, to be honest. I wouldn't even mind using this. And we can do this with any of these, with these shapes here. We can talk a lot about effects, but just for the sake of this, we're just gonna make it very simple, very short, very sweet. The final thing that we're gonna talk about is filters. Filters, they basically just scoped sounds, just with the assumption that you already are aware of what EQs are and you know what certain things are. We have currently right now in the filter 1, we have a low pass filter right now with a kind of middle-ish steep curve, where basically, you know, I'm probably insulting your intelligence here, but it's reducing the volume of all frequencies beyond a certain cutoff point that you can choose here, while letting all of the sounds that are below that frequency stay the same volume. Let's just make it really, really obvious. This is before the filter and after the filter. Very, very obvious what's doing there, right? Quite self-explanatory. And filters just do things like that in general. You can combine these kind of effects as you can do in an EQ. Of course, in an EQ, you can, you can have a low pass kind of slider there, and then you can turn up specific frequencies with the other sliders. You can make notches and peaks and all of these kind of things. You can do the same thing in Serum as well with like some of these more like multi filters where you have this is a low high, so you have a high pass filter and a low pass filter at the same time. So that's interesting. You can get more exotic. You have this is a band pass and a peak at the same time. And you can get even crazy with it, cone filters, phasers, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of ones inside of Serum 2, but just again, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to call it there for effects. And actually, with effects being done, that's kind of the end of what I wanted to talk about here. So if you found this informative, drop a cheeky like, subscribe to this, because I'm going to try and make this a bit of a regular occurrence. And that's it. Goodbye. Fuck off now.
Going crazy, they do it about me. Youngins going crazy, they do it about